How can you leverage your strengths and avoid burnout? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I learn right alongside you with amazing guests like my guest today. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, a portfolio career network of women building what's next. If you are planning to get on a board, build your business, or lead the AI conversation, we would love to have you in Her C-Suite. And if you're just curious, check out all the programs that we have at hercsuite.com. Today's guest is Sue Davis. I had the amazing opportunity to have Sue come and speak to one of our programs recently, and we decided to bring a snippet of that program to you today. Sue Davis is a vice president and also has a business where she helps women leaders in their lives live their best future. And also, she is involved with an amazing organization, the Polka Dots. We talk about that. I can't wait for you to hear all the details. Let's get started with this conversation now. Sue, I am so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. I can't believe we're finally doing this, and I can't wait for our listeners to listen in because you have so many great things and insights.
Thanks for having me.
We were talking off camera about some things that is going to really matter to women, but before we get into that, I always like to ask for a snapshot because you have a multi-hyphenate beautiful way of giving your light out in the world. But what led us to this moment? Give us a snapshot.
You and I are both those type of women that people ask, now, what are you doing and how do you do it all? And, coming out of corporate America 4 or 5 years ago, where I did the one thing and then turned into this crazy model of, entrepreneur, running a women's connection group and all the things. But I believe that's what got me to you was one of the gals in my group that is associated with Her C-Suite and said, Sue, you've got to check this out. And after doing, several of the groups and meetings with you and your team and one-on-ones, which is what I love to do. And we've just shared so much one-on-one, but never thought about the podcast. So thank you for graciously having me do my free workshop a week or two ago. And that's what led us here. So I'm excited.
Yes, and I can't wait for our listeners. We were just talking about all the things that lead us to maybe feeling burnt out. And that was what we were talking about how to shift that. And you have such a great framework. Let's talk a little bit about that because women, we do carry a lot on our shoulders. What does that look like?
We're all, whether we are in relationships romantically, parents, elder parents, we have kids, we're owning businesses. I mean, we do all the things. And again, not that men don't, but women carry things differently because we do carry the responsibility that I have to do it all. I mean, how many times has somebody said, and I'm guilty of it, I'll take your kids in the carpool. And I felt like as a young mom, no, I had to get my kids to practice. I never would let them ride with anybody else, and I felt I had to carry everything. And as an entrepreneur now, later in life, it gets harder. And my heart is to get the message out to some women that are just starting out and maybe as an entrepreneur in their 20s where I didn't begin to be an entrepreneur till my 50s, so my heart is to let them know that there's a difference between caring for somebody or something and carrying it. And I can care for my adult children all I want, but that doesn't mean I have to carry them through life at this point. So it's just a play on words, care versus carry. And I think we have to be very careful of which one we're focusing on.
You work with women in all the phases in the work that you do. And do you see a pull through in the different phases, or is each one unique in what they're facing?
Each one I think is unique. And the premise of a lot of the work and coaching that I do comes through the Patrick Lencioni tool, The Working Genius. But as I would use that as my guide and my assessment for businesses, I began to work with individuals, most of whom are women. And we figured, through this process, I have it into 4 pillars because it can really be for women their leadership, we're all leaders, and many women think that just because I'm not leading a team or whatnot, well, you're either leading a family or you're maybe on a board of directors, a nonprofit. We're all leaders. So I have to educate sometimes women that think they're not leaders, that we all are. So leadership, relationships, and again, it could be your relationship with a significant other, with elder parents, at work, as a business owner. The other one is your energy. Where's your energy pulling through? That's one of your pillars from the working genius and finding your joy area. And then just the work that you do and your productivity. Because if you get to this point that you study more about your genius areas, we all have six geniuses, but only two bring us joy. And that's what we want to try to uncover. So I've found, though, that those two joy areas, they cover all four of those pillars. But some women really just want to focus on relationships. Some women are in between careers, so they want to work on like the genius empowerment for their career. But then there are some women that come and say, give me it all. And for 6 months, we just talk about all four pillars and where it fits. So it can be anything, but have it narrowed down to these four pillars.
And one of the things that you covered, and we talked about this before we got started, that really resonated with me is just because you're good at something doesn't mean it gives you energy. And I think as women, we tend to, and I think it happens to men too, but we are good at something, so we repeat it. We're good at something, so we repeat it. We become known for it. And then it's hard to kind of get out of that. What do you tell people when they realize that they're not the same?
We talk through, and I do what's called a genius alignment audit, which is just a few questions. And I can pretty quickly find it, especially in careers. It's very easy to find because some women might be in corporate roles where, they have an SOP and they have to do whatever the SOP is, right? So they get caught, but they're good at it. So, maybe you have somebody that's an accountant and they work for an accounting firm and they're very good at numbers and they're very good at that. So they're asked to do more projects and they perform them and they perform them well. So they give more and then they don't have that boundary. And that's just, I call it the hamster wheel. I mean, we've all been there, but that does not mean that that's what brings that individual joy. So what happens is they keep doing the spreadsheets and doing the thing because that's what they were hired to do. And they're not even realizing that it's not the thing that makes them happy anymore. So the goal is to find the things that bring you joy, not the things that bring you frustration. And they might be finding out that that monotonous numbers crunching spreadsheets really is frustrating them, even though they're great at it, even though it was their college degree. And it's okay once you figure that out. So I try to help them through some questioning and talking through their career, their relationships, whatnot, what those frustration areas are. And if we find out that's what they're in, then the conversation goes to what do you do and how do we help you find that energy? Because I use the analogy too, just like a car runs out of gas, you don't just pull it over and let it sit on the side of the road. You have to fuel it with gas. So when we run out of gas because we're on that hamster wheel, how many times does somebody say, I'll just take some time off, go take a nap? You need a few hours away from the office. No, I need to recharge with something that gives me that energy back. So we need to go find what your joy is and do more of that to make you better at that hamster wheel until you can get out from under it.
I think that's so true because I think in this time frame when we're recording this, a lot of people need to stay where they're at because the job market is pretty tight right now. And so I personally don't encourage like before when 5 years ago, great resignation, go ahead and leave because you'll get another job. But find those areas of joy that you can infuse into what you're doing. And I know for me personally, when I joined the Healthcare Business Women's Association, and this was 16 years ago, I wanted to expand my personal network. I didn't know what that meant. I went to an event. I saw these amazing women at the front of there was 200 people and I sat in the back of the room. I was like, I'm just going to sit down here. I'm going to shrink. I'm going to sneak in, observe. By the end, I was volunteering. And 6 months later, I got asked to be on the board. But at that first event, I was just like, oh, but I found that that was my outlet, that really brought me fulfillment that I couldn't get in my day job. That didn't mean that I didn't like what I did. It didn't mean that I wasn't good at what I was doing. It just meant that I needed that extra area. What are some things that women can think about to help them find that? Other than, of course, the program that you do, which is amazing with the polka dots and our program. What are some things to kind of kickstart that?
Even if you are in one of those jobs and you can't leave it and you know it gets monotonous through the day and you're on that hamster wheel, but if you know what your joy areas are, then how can you put that into your evening routine? So, how can you go home in the evening? And I'll use young kids with homework as an example, because again, looking back 20, 25 years, I didn't realize this. But again, I'm analytical. I love math. So, what I would find is if my kids came home with math homework, that charged me up. I could help them with math homework all evening. But if they came home with science or even art projects or science projects, I would become so frustrated because I'm not an inventor and that's one of the geniuses. So if they had that type of homework, we learned that that would have to be their dad, that would make me more frustrated and more anxious. So I always tell people find, and even if it's through the assessment or the things that bring you joy, and sandwich those through your day. So even through the day, if I know I have to do a PowerPoint, I don't like making my PowerPoints for my presentations, but I can sandwich that hour in between connecting with you, Natalie, or doing something else with another connection collaboration that I love. And then I can sneak that PowerPoint in between those two things because we can work in that frustration area no more than 20% of the day, but we can still be in that area without becoming fully burned out because we're good at it, but we just don't want to stay there more than 20% of our time. So we can sandwich it and hopefully that helps. So finding the things that bring us joy and doing them and sandwiching some of the frustration parts in the middle, I think is a good way to help until you might be able to move out if you're looking to move out of what you're in, your job or whatnot.
Hey, it's Natalie, and I wanted to pop in and give you a personal invitation. We are hosting a special program for women wanting to land a corporate board role this year. It's a small group of women. We will walk you through in an accelerated day. I hope if you are planning to get on a board this year, but you feel a little stuck, this program is for you. Check out the link in the show notes, and let's get back to this conversation now. And we've been talking about corporate in a sense, women that are in corporate, but there's also a lot of women entrepreneurs that may have started a business and realized this isn't what they thought. What can they do to shift?
That's a great question, too. I get this question a lot because if I'm doing a workshop, and again, a lot of women are entrepreneurs will say, okay, so you tell me there's six geniuses and two bring us joy and two bring us frustration, and then two are kind of middle of the road. Well, I have to do all six or I have to be all six because it's just me as an entrepreneur because your six geniuses happen when you're doing work and projects. True. So again, you have to get very good at that sandwich method because you might have to do all six things. Some women don't like social media, but they have to do it. But I think prioritizing and knowing what those rules are and just a level of understanding, Natalie, of okay, I have to do the PowerPoint today. I have to do a week's worth of posting or, scheduling my posts. It's not my happy place. What's the best time for me to do it? Should I do it first thing in the morning while I'm fresh, or do I wait till 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? Probably not the best time to do it. So while there is an entrepreneur that I work with, if they're in that space, we're working on their timing of things, but we're also realizing what's the biggest frustration and as they start to earn more money and maybe get to a point budget wise that they could offload something, with a virtual assistant or with somebody to do their socials, they have a plan in place and light at the end of the tunnel that they know about 6 months, I'm going to be able to get rid of this piece. And I think that keeps them moving better because they know they're going to be able to offload the things that bring them frustration.
Yeah. And I think you're bringing up a really good point that as we are growing our businesses, we sometimes can get diverted into things that don't bring us joy and are not generating revenue. And if a goal is to be able to grow the business and to outsource some of the things, I want to encourage all of our entrepreneurs to think about outsourcing. Every time I can, I do because, oh my goodness, it frees up so much time, right? So, as people are thinking about this, that should be a priority for your well-being is to be profitable, think about your business and how can you outsource? What are some strategies that you help the women that you talk with about that?
Yeah. And so this is, and again, you and I set this up even before I had this meeting last week with a gal that I know. And we had lunch, and she runs a healthcare coaching business, virtual coaching business. And she has this great program that she's just getting off the ground. It's daily videos and routines. And she's got a group of coaches, and they're just getting into the are we going to make money phase, so she has the two geniuses that I have, which are galvanizing tenacity, which means we're both crazy ladies and we rally troops and we check things off and we want to get the project done. So we sat together because she's done the assessment, and she was trying to determine if she should spend money for her own coaching or use the money for the coaching and put that back into the business and bring on somebody to help her with some of the parts of the business that wasn't her genius. And at that point, it was kind of, I was helping her weigh that out. So these are the type of conversations I'm having. And it was like, well, you might not have anything to coach if you don't start making money. So that was kind of an easy one. Put the money into the business, get the assistant that you need to help with the AI that you need to do, with some of the marketing you need to do, get your first five clients. And then when you start making money, then go pay the coach to maybe bring you along further. So, really, it's those types of things. It's best when somebody has done the assessment and we know what their geniuses are, because I can quickly tune into, and she was easy because she has the same geniuses as me. So it was easy to tune into what she was looking for. And she felt that she needed somebody to discern things with her. She said, I feel like I can't make decisions without asking somebody else's opinion. And discernment is one of the geniuses as well. And basically, I said to her, you really don't need somebody to push ideas off of. It's just because, as a galvanizer and tenacity and not making money yet, that's all you can think about. So now you think until you start making money, you want somebody else to help you make every decision. So, again, long answer to your question, but those are the types of things and the way we get into questions because I have their assessment. They usually come to me with, I'm not good at this, or I feel stuck in that. And then I can analyze that based on the geniuses or their frustrations because of their assessment. And then we just talk about tools. We talk about really just getting into how they're feeling in certain situations. And it's just conversation and it just flows, just like we're doing here.
When you have clarity, it's so much easier to make the right decisions. But until you are really clear, and I just had a conversation with someone this week about find that one thing that's your true north. And it's super hard. I don't want to dismiss like how hard that is because as a multi hyphenate myself, I have 55 and I'm like, okay, well, which one is it going to be? And so build what's next is my true north. Like always like, well, build what's next, build what's next. So once you know that, you can marry up, I'm guessing, with your assessment to kind of fill in those areas to know, okay, this is what my true north is, and I should stay in this lane. And also those other lanes, as soon as you can, outsource to help relieve that stress, right?
Yes. And it creates a common language in that, there's certain terminology that you start to have, and it takes away guilt that you might have felt for years because you thought you were good at something and people kept asking you to do it, and you get on that hamster wheel and then you're starting to feel guilty at drawing the boundary. So understanding the geniuses and the frustrations helps you to not feel guilty. And an example of that might be, working on a project with somebody at work, and if it is somebody that's better with spreadsheets, they might get their part of the project done in a day. You also have to bring your part of the numbers to the table, but you're not good at spreadsheets. It might take you a week. And then you're thinking, well, what the heck? They were done on day one. I'm holding them up because it takes me till day five. But when you realize that that's not the way you're wired, it takes away the guilt that you feel. It also takes away the judgment of other people. So then you stop judging them. Well, who do they think they are? They got done in one day. And so it really, that's a big thing that I talk about all the time is understanding your geniuses helps take away guilt that you feel and judgment of other people because they're wired differently. It's great to do with your family. I did it with my adult children and I have a whole different respect for where they are because I know they're geniuses and I wish I had known it when they were kids.
You said something earlier about caring and carrying. And I think we tend to feel that carrying and we don't ask for help. And that's one of the best ways, even if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have the budget, there are workarounds. I do exchanges all the time with entrepreneurs, which
Yes.
is a way that you both can grow together. It is not diminishing what you each offer. So, what would you say to someone that doesn't want to ask for help because maybe she's worried about how it might seem to the other person?
I agree with you 100% to just be vulnerable and learn. And there are so many opportunities out there that usually start as a free webinar that then lead to more if you want to engage and pay for it. But I think the trade, and I'll use that as an example, I did that at the end of 2025. I wanted and desired new branding photos, but I wanted the whole kit and caboodle, like a whole day session and the whole bit. And the gal that just did tremendous work for me wanted the burnout piece. And we just talked about how we could make that work. And I did some things for her and vice versa. So that, first of all, is a great opportunity. But I think just knowing that there are so many free opportunities out there, using socials to find them, use Eventbrite. If you have a half an hour lunch and learn you can get on, start there and just, I mean, they're advertised everywhere, but that could be a start. That doesn't mean they're all the best. So use your connections, use your network, especially of women, because there are so many people like Natalie and I that are out there just wanting to connect and merge people together that we know could help. So sometimes it might not be saying, hey, Natalie, I want your help. It might just be, hey, Natalie, I'm struggling with this. And then Natalie's going to give you 10 names. So, I mean, that's more to me is we all know more and more people. So just be vulnerable and say you need help, even though you might not be asking that person for help. They're going to give you many, many ways and many names of women that can help. That's the way I do it. And I know that's the way you do it.
And I'm excited because we are exploring also this idea of Collab 3, which we're doing in her C suite. It's a framework. I get asked, as do you, a lot about who do you know? And this is a more formalized way of aligning people with synergies to output something of a common goal. And I think that's one piece that I think women sometimes are missing is I know I need help, but I don't know who to go to or how I'm going to get the result I want. And so having kind of a formula is one way. If you think about looking forward, what are some things that you're really excited about this year coming up?
I'm excited about, when things start to spark and evolve, whether it's in my business, in her C suite, there's more and more momentum. I think that's the word. And I can't look out and say that I know that I will have touched 100 women by the end of the year, but my heart is with the energy that we have in the spaces that we have. Like I said, if I had known some of this energy and dialing in the way we're doing through our collaboration, through other things that are happening 30 years ago. I want to get to the younger women, and that's just so I'm just going to keep plugging away, offering my course through my women's network group, through the things with her C suite. I know you and I've talked about other ways. I just think it's find your tribe. There's plenty of tribes out there. And I just think those tribes are growing. And I know you've got all kinds of things going on. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the year brings. And my goals are, again, to continue to offer my course. It's a 6-week course to a quarter. So we'll have, some done by the end of the year and excited to see the growth that's happening. Yeah, I'm just excited. And I'm loving, like you said, about the trio and how you're kicking that off, because I'm truly one that believes that there's room at the table. That's an analogy that's been getting a lot of use lately. There's room at the table. And I think sometimes women think that other women are too busy to maybe pull out the chair and open that table, a space at the table. And I even think about that table as in the old days when you had to pull it apart and put the leaf in, let's put the leaf in and make room for more women at that table. And, they just have to say, hey, I want to sit here and eat with you. And we're ready to welcome them. So that's kind of my vision for the rest of the year.
I love that so much because I think women organizations and you and I share this that we need to be collaborating. You don't have to limit yourself to one thing, be exploratory in what you're doing. I love all the things that you are excited about this year. If people want to find you, Sue, where's the best place?
Through my website, which is suedaviscoaching.com. It's pretty easy. And there's links there to set up one-on-ones. That would probably be the easiest because it's just my name, suedaviscoaching.com.
And I will have that in the show notes. And I hope everyone checks it out. I'm so glad we had this conversation.
I know, finally. We could talk for days.
I know we could. It's so fun having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here with me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for joining this conversation with Sue and me today. I have to give a shout out to Lisa Agapis, who introduced me to Sue. And since then, she's been in her C-suite, and we always focus and like to highlight our members and shine a light on them. And this was one of those occasions, and it was so fun to have this discussion today. I hope that if you are on a journey of trying to figure out what's next and some of this information was helpful, I would be so grateful if you would rate and review the show. It's how other people find us. As always, if you are looking to make a change in your life, know that you're not alone. Keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.